Call the meeting to order. Everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Shannon, will you take a roll call?
Councilmember Garola,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Villaseñor,
Here.
Mayor Austin,
Here.
Councilmember Broggie,
Here.
Councilmember Mendez.
Here.
Thank you.
I'd like to move to item number 4, approval of the agenda.
I'd like to make one change to the agenda. Same as we did last meeting. Committee, commission, and board reports moved to 10. So we would have a 10A and a 10B. So it would be a 10A.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 5, public comments. First speaker is Derek Farage. You have 3 minutes, and when 30 seconds, the yellow light comes on.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, honorable council members. Just real quick, I just want to reiterate something that from last meeting in regards to the train cars out on Old Telegraph. I've tried getting a hold of Ventura County Transportation Commission with no luck. No one's responding to my inquiries about the train cars, all the graffiti on them. They are an eyesore, especially for the people who live around that area. So just wondering if you can direct staff or yourselves help in coordinating some kind of resolvement with those train cars. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Could carry.
You want to carry?
Yeah, can I just add, Okay. I am a commissioner on VCTC, and I will pass that information along with your phone number to the executive director, okay?
Okay, moving on to Brandy Hollis.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to be real quick. We had a great meeting on Thursday. We made contact with 15 at-risk individuals without having to go into the riverbed or trample through their space, which was amazing. Very receptive. That was really great. My day took a dramatic left turn as I was transporting somebody by myself because no men were available to help me transport. It's been a crazy day, but I just wanted to read you something that I did receive today, because every little bit helps. If it's one person, 2 person, 3 people, 4 people, as we keep going, it chips away at it. But I'm going to read what I got this message at 8:50 a.m. and it made my day, so maybe it'll make yours too. I'm blessed to know that I do now know people do really actually care about me out here in this world. I know I was just thinking yesterday that I wish we could have all took a picture, a group photo before I left. That way I could look at it late down the road. I could have pulled it out and remembered that I owe it to you guys down there in Southern California, my other family, because I wouldn't be standing where I am right now if it wasn't for each of you. I'm glad that I was able to lift your spirits, and I've learned that getting just even the littlest amount of positive reassurance definitely does have a big impact on people. And that's why I want to say thank you to the both of you for helping me see that. So that was a gentleman we helped up out of the riverbed. He was on a bike, and he's no longer in Fillmore. But once again, one person at a time, you know the story of the starfish, I'm sure you all do. Every little bit helps. And to reiterate the words of Dr. Carrington again, who was out here on Thursday, he's willing to come out, serve our city, but he would like to see the city serious back and really wanting to solve this problem at the core of the problem. Okay, thanks you guys, have a good one.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 6, City Council reports, recommendations, and comments.
Okay, Mayor, I do have a couple. Thank you. I just wanted to announce that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and on May 20th, we're going to have our 3rd annual Health and Wellness Resource Fair. It'll be on the front lawn of the Fillmore Unified School District. This is a partnership between the City of Fillmore and the school district, and I'll make sure that the Fillmore Gazette gets this for the newspaper. And it's really important. It started off 3 years ago as a focusing on mental health resources, but it's expanded now to basically resources in the community, health-related, physical, also just what's out there in terms of community organizations for people from young kids all the way through seniors to thrive. And it's a real opportunity for Fillmore residents to know that there are lots and lots of resources available, both here in town and for folks that come out to serve our community. So we hope that you can make it. And para español, tenemos un recurso de salud y bienestar el 20 de mayo en frente de las oficinas del distrito escolar, y la ciudad es una colaboración entre la ciudad y también el distrito escolar, y ojalá que todos vienen. Vamos a tener puestos comunitarios, una clínica de vacuna y refuerzos, y actividades para los niños y familias, la biblioteca móvil y mucho más. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. With
Yeah,
that,
I do have one thing. So I have been tasked with military orders by the California Air National Guard that start next week for formal training for my unit's primary mission. So I will be in Arkansas for approximately 4 months. But my schedule hopefully will allow for me to be able to participate remotely in our meetings. But I also intend to fly back on my own money as much as I can on weekends and stuff to continue to participate in town, but then also to see family and friends. So just want to make sure everybody is aware of that. My address will be posted for the public access there as the law requires. Thank you.
okay, moving on to item number 7, consent calendar. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we're moving on to, because it was previously item number 9, we're moving to 8. It's all 8 now, but I've switched all the numbers on the cards. So we're going to continuation of the Proposition 218 hearing for water and sewer rates for 2023 to 2027. Turn it over to staff.
Good evening, council, residents of Fillmore, and staff. I'm not going to bore you with revisiting every aspect of the presentation from last time. So we're going to go through just some of the basic information you guys asked from last time. This is the Prop 218, the continuation of the Prop 218 hearing for water and sewer rates. We have, I've posted the debt service schedule. On here, there are the columns. The first column there is the non-refunded prior bonds. Those have not been refinanced, and it looks like those should be paid off by year 2030. Our annual payment on those is roughly $1.5 million. The 2017 refunded or refinanced bonds will start to kick in principal. Right now we're doing interest only. Start to kick in principal in 2031, but our interest only payments are $1.5 million. So we have roughly $3 million a year that we're paying down on the debt service. So we have our 2021-2022 actual expenditures. This is for the treatment and disposal, broken down by month. The total is 2.2 million. Let me see. So the headings on this first slide, which it looks like it's skipped over, shows what those columns are. So salaries, Veolia expenses, and total. Sorry, this first slide skipped. So sewer administration, $1.2 million total expenses. For a collection system, roughly 157,000, which is a very low number. And then the $3 million that I called out on the debt service. So you've asked for additional information which has been provided to you. I don't know if you have additional questions on any of that that information that's been provided. But to remind everyone, the sewer rates were proposed to stay consistent, stay the same as they've been for the last several years, stay the same through the next 5 years, and that's all based on the projections and the analysis that was done by financial experts, people much more financially adept than I. The water rates, we're restructuring the water rates. The proposal is to restructure the water rates to have actual usage be charged to the residents. That concludes the presentation. If you have any questions.
One question that I do have, just based on some of the information that had been given, this is actually a little bit more for Dave. Dave, I believe you plan on publishing a timeline of the history of the sewer, right?
Yeah, we'll have to kind of work on the final details on that. We do plan on doing, it was turned off there. Yeah, we're finalizing a timeline. It kind of explains everything on the timeline. And then we're also currently working on a utility calculator to put on the webpage as well, so that you'll have the sewer rate on there. It'll have the minimum water payment of $25. Then it'll have the per unit cost you can plug in from your current bill. If it's 22, plug in 22, it'll show you a total cost. If you want to plug in 5 units, it'll show you how much it costs for 5 units of water. We are getting feedback about 2 weeks to see if it'll work. Then after that, we'll do probably a couple test runs. So I wouldn't expect the calculator out until probably another 30, 45 days. Just go for the back and forth of that.
Okay.
And we will post the other items on the website as well that were shown tonight.
Okay.
Okay. This is the time and place for the public hearing on the City of Fillmore water service fees and sewer service fees. I will now reopen the public hearing. Has the deputy clerk received any written protests filed against the sewer water rate increases?
Mayor, yes, we have received 13 letters protesting the increase.
Okay. Is now anyone present who is who wishes to address the council on this matter may hand in one of the green sheets. I have speakers up here already. If you want to speak, go ahead and give it to the deputy city clerk at this point. So our first speaker is Charles Richardson. You're going to have somebody to give up your time again? Because that looks like a novel.
He's given, it probably wouldn't take 6 minutes,
Okay.
except that I didn't understand any of that report that was just given. That isn't what I was going to talk about.
Who's going to, is it Barry who's going to give up his time?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll move it to 6. And then you have, once you have 30 seconds left.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'm here tonight to continue to discuss the agenda item number 9A, which was on your agenda at the April 11th council meeting. You held this item over so that you could have your staff itemize, didn't happen, itemize the monthly cost of running the Fillmore reclamation plant. The problem is the basis of figuring out the assessment your staff uses is wrong. Staff said that there are 4,047 water meters that are assessed $103.36 per month. The amount of assessment is correct, but your meter count is wrong. And here is why 4,047 is not right. And I'll give you an example. El Dorado Mobile Home Park has 1 meter, the master meter, that services the entire park. And yet you collect $103.36 from every space in the park, which is 345 spaces. Those are sub-meters installed by the owner. He has those installed so that he'll know how much each person is using. And yet you folks are charging us for something that you didn't install and you have no control over. So it turns out that the 345 meters comes to $35,659.20 per month. And you should only be charging El Dorado's single master meter $103.36 per month. A little different. 35,000 versus $103. If I am right, then you owe El Dorado residents a whole lot of money, which you collected illegally. I suggest you have the city attorney look into my complaint over charging El Dorado residents this exorbitant amount. However, if your attorney does find that the monthly charge of $35,659.20 is legal, it will have to stand up in a court case, and the city will have to revise the number of actual meters you charge. It's not 4,047. It should be 4,345 plus 47. But you shouldn't be charging this for 345 meters because you didn't install them. You don't read them. The park management reads the meters once a month. In fact, they just came by. I lost my place. These sub-meters will add a significant number to the 4,047, which I just said. Your staff says exist when in fact there are a lot of sub-meters that need to be accounted for. What about all the apartments that are built that are on a master meter? And yet you charge each apartment $103 and what did I say, 36 cents. It's not right. So I ask that you please continue this agenda item until your staff comes up with an actual meter count. And the only way I think that you can do that is to go back and look at every one of those $103.36 and add them all up throughout the entire city. Not just 4,000 meters that you physically read each month, but all the meters that you don't read, but you're still charging for. And so I'm asking that you continue this hearing until you come back with better numbers. And prove that I'm wrong. And it's up to the city attorney now to take it under, I guess, the city manager will give her direction. And this sounds like a court case to me. You folks owe us a lot of money. I've been paying it now since 19 years. And by the way, this is my conclusion. The owner of Yanni's restaurant in Fillmore told me he pays over $1,100 per month for his sanitation fee. That's just one business. You count all those is that part of the 4,000 meters? I suspect the other businesses in Fillmore also pay a lot of money into the operation of the sanitation facility as well. Please continue this hearing for another 2 weeks or whatever it takes to find out how many meters you're actually billing. Because I know you're billing us for 345, El Dorado. And as far as this expenses is concerned, I didn't hear what the monthly expense is. I hear a lot of numbers, but I didn't hear what it costs to operate the plant on a monthly basis. That number then compares to the amount of money you're taking in. That's what I want to see. That seems so simple to me. And yet, I'm looking at a chart, that's not understandable. You think most of the people in Fillmore would understand what he was just saying tonight? I don't think so. Thank you.
May I ask one question, Mayor?
Yeah, I got out more time coming. It says 14, but now it says 23.
Going the wrong way.
It's the way the city works, huh?
Next speaker is Derek Farage.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, honorable council members. Again, for the record, my name is Derek Farage. I am the owner of 802 Central Avenue. Please accept this as my formal protest for the proposed Fillmore sewer rates. During my time with Ventura County Public Works, Water and Sanitation out in Moore Park, I know how important these meetings are. I was involved in many of them in Prop 218 notices, and in my review of the water rates, I feel that they are fair and equitable. And I would recommend, if anything tonight, passing the new water rates. Where my protest is the sewer rates. In 2016, the council increased the sewer rates from $92 up to the current $103. This also included the volumetric rate, which I am glad to see is no longer in the rates. But the question still arises, why does Fillmore pay one of the highest sewer rates? We pay more than the city of Oxnard, Ventura, Camarillo, Simi Valley, and Moore Park, all of which have higher medium household incomes. Moore Park's current rate is $29 per month. They have a new treatment plant. They have a testing facility, state-of-the-art. Their rates are still $29 per month. And they have a almost double the household income as our residents here in Fillmore. I believe the sewer rates need to be evaluated for cost savings. I did see that, we have refinanced some of the bonds and the loans. Have they been looked at? Again, I know interest rates are high right now, but there could be room to renegotiate rates and things like that. And has the Bridges community been taken into account? We have a huge population increase for all of these new buildings that are coming up. Why are we still paying $103 that we've been paying since 2016 with an increase in population, increase in meter count, an increase in available people to spread that cost out? I believe the city needs to look at the bond indebtedness and take a look at that count for the increase in population. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Chris.
Sir, have you filed a report with the city before about your complaint about sub-meters? Correct. Is this the first time you've brought the issue to the city?
No.
Okay.
I've been in constant contact with city manager and Councilmember Brody.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, this 345, which sub-meters, I even sent him an email. After the meeting, I'm going home and I'm thinking, my goodness.
Sir, I'm just wondering, yeah. Mostly I just wanted to see if you have formally requested that the meter and sub-meter issue be looked at prior to tonight's meeting.
No.
Okay. So.
It didn't come to me till when this gentleman said there was 4,000 meters. It didn't include the 345 in El Dorado.
Okay. I just want to make sure
Okay.
I have clarity on that.
Yeah.
being
But
the
I
first
have been in
request.
contact with the city in regards
Yeah,
to.
sir, I don't mean to cut you off. You've answered my question, and I would like to follow up with staff. Thank you. Troy, does the 4,000 meters, is that just residential meters, or does that include all the meters, including the commercial meters for sewer?
Yeah, there are slightly more meters, but the 4,000 was roughly the residential meters.
Okay.
There's commercial meters that are added into that. There's apartment meters, and then there would be like the mobile home parks.
Right, and the commercial meters are charged at a volumetric rate, not the flat rate.
Correct.
Right? So explains why, higher usage for commercial and business use would likely be much higher than the residential rate.
Correct.
Right, yeah, okay. Yeah, no, thank you, I appreciate it.
Does any other member of the council have any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Is there anybody that'd like to make a motion?
I'd like to move that we, at a minimum, accept the water rates, with the exception that I'd like to propose that they be effective in the early fall, potentially like 1 September, to avoid the rate change for those that do use more water, to hit them right when watering, usage tends to increase, and allow time for the city staff's efforts to educate the public on their water usage with a calculator to be effective so that people can change behavior.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Shannon, will you take a roll call vote?
Councilmember Garola,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Villasenor,
Aye.
Mayor Austin,
No.
Councilmember Brogy,
No.
Councilmember Mendez.
Aye.
Okay. So the motion passes.
Passes.
And we'll continue on with our next item. CFD number 5, Heritage Valley Parkways Improvement Area Bonds, and the Fillmore CFD staff.
Okay, good evening, Mayor, council members, and community members. I believe some of you need to recuse yourself from this item because you may have a conflict. Just a quick reminder.
I'll recuse myself from the item number 9B.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure if I needed to or not. I do? That's
Yeah.
what I'm wondering.
You live in the area, right? Yeah.
I have a conflict as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Three of us.
I wasn't making it up.
No.
Come on.
Okay, thank you. So tonight I have the group of consultants that have been working closely with myself and other staff members to go through the process of the CFD. Adam Pope, who's the managing director from Columbia Capital Management, will be doing the presentation, but I also have here Renee Vancho, senior vice president of Piper and Sandler, and Anita Luck, who's the partner from Elishire and Winder. So if we have any follow-up questions, I have a team of people that will help me answer those for you. Okay, so I'll just have Adam come up and we'll start the presentation. Thank you.
Mayor, Council, Adam Pope from Columbia Capital Management. We're serving as the city's municipal advisor for the CFD transaction. Just wanted to give you a little background on the CFD in general, talk a little bit about the bonds, and then talk about the documents that you're going to be approving tonight with this action. So the CFD was formed in 2006. It was formed in two improvement areas. There's improvement area A and improvement area B. Improvement area A contains 336 lots, and bonds were issued back in 2015 for that improvement area. The item before you today is for improvement area B, which contains a total of 459 lots. This is the first of two transactions that will be coming for improvement area B. We're not sure when the second transaction will be. It'll probably be in a couple years from now. But the reason we're doing two transactions is because there's still development to be done on improvement area B, but it's at a point now where we're able to carve out a portion of it and issue bonds against those lots that are already developed. And as of January 2023, which January 1 is the cutoff date for the RMA on what can be classified as developed or undeveloped. And to be classified as developed, there has to be a building permit pulled. So as of January 1, there were 356 lots that were classified as developed. Since Jan 1, as of March 31, there's been additional 15 lots. So those total is lots and the special taxes that apply to each of those homes will be the revenue source for the repayment for these bonds. Again, with a CFD, the obligation, the security for the bonds is only those special taxes. No city funds will be used to repay the bonds or pledged towards the repayment of those bonds. So the bond transactions that we're working on now, I think the first time I was here was the end of last year. Then there was another meeting where we approved, you approved the hiring of Piper Sandler as underwriter and the appraiser, and that was in January. And since that time, we've been working diligently with staff to put together the documents necessary to bring forth the transaction. We plan to issue approximately, it's going to be a little bit less than $20 million in bonds. It will produce $19.6 million in bond proceeds. Those proceeds will be used to reimburse or pay costs for the Pole Creek Bridge and the El Dorado Flood Control Panel. You might remember back in, I think it was 2019, the developer requested certain changes to the improvement area B, and that was also included the Pole Creek Bridge. So it wasn't one of the projects that were originally laid out when the CFD was formed. But in 2019, they requested that those changes be made, and so that's what will be reimbursed. The funds will also be used to fund a debt service reserve fund, which is kind of a pot of money that's put away, that's held at a trustee, U.S. Bank in this case, that is kind of an additional security for bondholders, just in case those special taxes didn't come in as expected. There would be that additional funds to help pay off. When we sized the bonds, we sized it at 110% of debt service in order to that extra 10% is used in case there are any delinquencies or anything like that, which is an additional credit for the investors that will be purchasing the bonds. There is a foreclosure covenant. If the property owner is delinquent for 3 payments, then the city will have to issue or begin foreclosure proceedings. Wildan has been hired as a CFD administrator, so they will be assisting the city in tracking each year the amount of taxes that need to be put on the tax roll. They will help with the foreclosure, monitoring delinquencies, things like that. And they've been active in the bond transaction with the team, providing data and advice as we've gone along. As we mentioned, an appraiser was hired. The total value to lien of the expected bonds that are issued in the existing outstanding bonds is 10.8 times, which is extremely strong for a CFD. The city's policy requires at least a 4-to-1, so you can see quite a bit larger than that and attractive to investors. So we're hopeful that we'll have a good result. We plan to price the bonds in a couple of weeks. Probably the week of May 8th or so, and then close before the end of May. The 4 documents that you'll be approving tonight. The first is called the POS, or the preliminary official statement, which you can think of as the prospectus. So this is the document that contains all the information about the bonds, about the developer, about the development, about the city, and this is sent out to the investors, to investment banks. And kind of gives that document that's sent to them so that they can kind of research and decide if they want to participate in the bond transaction. There's also a continuing disclosure certificate that's an appendix to that POS. That lays out the city's annual requirements. So when you issue a bond transaction, the city's role doesn't end there, unfortunately. Every year you're required to post certain information to what's called EMA, which is a repository of data, and it's like the city's audit and other reports about the CFD. And again, Wildan has been hired as a CFD administrator, and they'll be assisting the city and staff in making sure those requirements are met on a yearly basis. The other document is called the Fiscal Agent Agreement, and that is an agreement with U.S. Bank, who will be serving as the trustee when they will hold the tax revenues as they come in each year, and then they will pay the debt service out to bondholders. And when we close the bonds, they will receive the proceeds, and then the developer will request to the city, and the city will have to make sure that they've spent what they said they've spent and it's on the good projects, and then at that point, those monies can be released to them. The final thing is the bond purchase agreement, which is a contract between city and Piper as underwriter. When we do price the bonds, you'll see there are a lot of blanks in these documents because we don't know what these are yet. That's kind of the fun part that's left to do, is to figure out exactly what the rates will be. But once we get to the day of pricing, all that will get filled in. It just basically says, hey, these are the rates. This is the maturities each year that they'll be, and that document will be executed at that time by city staff, by those that are authorized. So, as I said, there's a lot of blanks left in these documents. That's okay. You can approve substantially final. This action authorizes city staff to go forth and complete the transaction, and authorizes them to sign off on all of those things. And then once we have the bonds priced, Mayor, you'll have to come and sign a bunch of stuff. So you'll have to mark out your calendar for that and have your pen ready, so there'll be a lot of things for you to sign. And at that point, everything will be completed and the transaction will close. And then, as I mentioned, we'll come back in a couple years probably and do another transaction. There's certain development requirements and valuation tests that have to be met before those bonds can be issued in the future. So it'll be a process with the developer to hopefully the development continues at the pace it has, and they're able to get to the finish line, and then at that point wrap up the CFD number 5. So as we mentioned, we have bond counsel here. We have Renee from Piper Sandler, who is the underwriter, happy to answer any questions you may have about the CFD or bonds or anything else you might have tonight.
Any questions? Yeah.
Well, I had one question that came up in your presentation, so thank you very much. It was very thorough and very clear about our process moving forward. But you had mentioned that if taxes don't come in as expected, and I was like, ooh, what key scenario would that be?
Well, that would be the delinquency thing. Yeah. So that's what we know exactly what the RMA lays out exactly what the special tax is on each property. Sorry, I didn't say that as clearly as I should have. Yeah, that's if for whatever reason there's a delinquency, and then, as I mentioned, there's those foreclosure covenant that the city would then have to, and that's why we build in the 110 coverage. So you've got a little bit of wiggle room just in case there are. But historically, we had a delinquency report for the existing, because they've already been levying those taxes, and so up to this point it's been very low a delinquency percentage. So we're not worried about that.
I figure those homeowners out there are on top of that.
Yes, they are. Well, it shows up on their property tax bill, so they kind of have to be, right?
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. I will. My recommendation is to approve resolution number 23-3925 of the City Council of the City of Fillmore, acting in its capacity as the legislative body of the City of Fillmore Community Facilities District Number 5, Heritage Valley Parks, on behalf of Improvement Area B, authorizing the issuance of bonded indebtedness in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed, just want to make sure I'm reading this right, $21 million, to finance public facilities, executing certain documents, and providing for the sale of the bonds, and taking certain other actions in connection wherewith.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Want to go collect them?
I will have to take a couple-minute break. Thank you so much. Thank you for the presentation.
But that's when you have the resolution on several of them, you guys can recuse yourself from each one.
No, even if it's one, usually I'm advised, you gotta get out here. Right. Yeah, but I'm so far on that end.
Moving on to item number 8C. Consideration of a proposed service agreement with Water Resources Associates, Inc. for evaluating the viability of well in preparation of technical bid specifications package.
Good evening again, City Council, residents, and staff. Tonight I wanted to discuss with you this professional services agreement. We currently have, the city's water consumption demand is currently met by wells number 7 and 8, which combined have a safe production capacity of 3.37 million gallons per day. However, on August 5th, 2022, the city's demand reached an annual high of 3.51 million gallons a day and exceeded the safe production capacity 4 times during the 2 warmest months of 2022. During a short duration, the demand exceeded the safe production. It was offset by the water storages that were in the tanks, in the reservoirs. Having a safety net for our wells in case one of them goes down or in case one of them is at a less than ideal production is something that I think that we should strive for. It's something that's a requirement of the State Water Board. Well number 4 has been offline since 1998 due to poor water quality and listed as inactive by the Department of Drinking Water. Well number 5 was brought offline in November 2021 due to failure with the well screen that resulted in sediment entering into the suction pipe. Well number 9 was drilled, was established in 2009, but due to poor water quality was never put into service. So what we're looking to do is evaluate the viability of any one of these 3 options to get a third well back online. We'd start most likely with well number 5 because it seems like it's the most viable, probably the least expensive, and then we'd maybe move on to well number 4 and see if there's a way that we can improve the water quality of well number 4. But we did go away from well 4 because of the water quality. And then well 9 has never been put into service. So that is the extent of the presentation, and if you have any questions.
I do have a question. Thank you, Troy, for the presentation. Just curious on well number 9, and just it not being so long ago due to poor water quality. I thought, if you could expound on that, just to find out what happened there, and it seemed like it would be something that would be one of our, well, not being an expert, you would think just reading it, we would go to that one first to see if we could get it going initially, since not that long ago. But maybe you could explain why.
So there's contaminants that were found in that water, and those contaminants would require treatment. We're currently a level 1 treatment city, and if we had to treat for those contaminants, we would end up either bumping to a level 2 or a level 3 treatment city, which changes the certifications that our water staff requires. But it also is going to cost additional money. We'd have, we'd have to look at, the logistics of actually treating that water. Well 4 has the same contaminants. So if we ended up doing something with well 9, we may want to look at doing something with well 4 at the same time, because the treatment is going to be virtually the same. And in evaluating what's going on there with well 9, they drilled that. There was over $1 million spent to drill that well and evaluate the viability before it was determined that it was too expensive to continue with the treatment if we went down that road. Same reason why well 4 was most likely abandoned in 1998. But well 4 is a very, very deep well, more than 4 times deeper than the other wells that we have, and the evaluation process may include capping it at a reasonable depth and not having the contaminants that might be coming from the deep well, but we don't know without doing this evaluation.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I had just a couple, and maybe you addressed this. It's just not clear to me on the bottom of the report under the discussion where it ends with the phrase, other inactive wells have been demolished or altered to an extent beyond rehabilitation. So I'm wondering, how many wells were there to begin with? I wasn't aware ever that there were other wells that had been, and why, demolished or altered beyond rehabilitation.
Well, I don't know all of the different wells numbers. What I can tell you is that they've been numbered in sequence, and what we have right now is we have well 4 that's still kind of, we still have the site available. We have well 5 that's almost in service. I mean, we had to take it out of service. And then well 7 is in service, well 8 is in service, well 9 was never put in service. So at least in the middle, there's well 6 that has been demolished, and wells 1, 2, and 3 were most likely demolished at some point in our 100-plus year history.
I guess they just don't last forever, huh?
They do not. No.
Okay. And then, under the fiscal impact, I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. It says the budget did not include funds for this contract. However, the needed funds are available in the WCI fund. So I guess what that means, for my own clarification, is that you're saying that there's not specific funds for this project, but there's enough money in the WCI fund. It might not be identified as for that purpose.
Correct.
But it's available in that fund.
Yes, the water fund has capital improvement funds, and there are funds
got it, okay.
available in there
Okay.
to cover the cost of this.
All right.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Troy.
Hey, Troy, just out of curiosity, what kind of contaminants were those wells identified in them?
One of them was manganese,
Okay.
and Joe, do you remember? Iron? The other one was iron.
Okay,
So
thanks.
the iron is the one that's most concerned as far as the depth, but manganese is the other.
Not good. Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion then, if there is no more questions. Okay.
I'll second the motion.
To approve a reallocation of $39,600 within line item, do I have to recite that? From the well 5 rehab project for this contract, and to authorize the mayor to execute the agreement with Water Resources Associates for $39,600.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Now I'll second, sorry.
Okay, I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to purchase of
Thank you.
4 giant e-bikes. Turn over the,
Mayor, could I interrupt for 1 second while the chief walks up to present this item? Councilmember Garola just asked me a question before this item about 9A, and I just wanted to clarify to make sure everyone was on the same page, that his motion was that the water rates not go into effect until the fall, but that the sewer rates be approved and go into effect immediately, like as soon as they're allowed to under the law. And I want to make sure that's what everyone believes they voted for.
I was under the impression he was making a motion just to pass the resolution on the water and
So-
not the sewer.
Oh, and not the sewer.
I don't know.
I was under the impression of what you just said. I was clear on what Councilmember Garola was asking for a delay on the.
Okay, but how about everyone else? Otherwise, we might need to do a motion to reconsider and go back. And
No, I understood what he was doing, yeah.
Okay, so Mayor, are you comfortable with how
I'm
we voted
comfortable,
with
we're
that?
throwaway votes anyway, so
Okay.
it goes,
Okay.
I'm in.
I just want to make sure you all understood and the public, anyone watching, understood that the sewer rates are adopted, and the water rates are adopted, but won't go into effect until the fall.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Good. Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and residents. I'll be brief tonight so we can all get out of here, hopefully soon. So this presentation is for the approval of the purchase of 4 giant Italian e-bikes that I'll go through here. So like mentioned in the staff report, the purchase will be for 4 e-bikes with the price there listed. The graphics for the bikes themselves too, to wrap them with the graphics and the city logo on it, for the total purchase price of $15,014.79. Again, if approved tonight, there is no additional impact or fiscal impact, as the money would be used from the current traffic enforcement funding that we currently have right now. There's a couple of pictures of the bikes I just wanted to show you guys. It's the giant Italian e-bikes. The pictures of the bikes pictured there are the ones from our Moore Park station and our Camarillo station. Obviously, they get wrapped up pretty nicely with the city logo, and so they're easily identified as police bikes. Some of the events that I think would be, these bikes would be extremely beneficial to our community here to use are obviously all the community events that we have. Some of them are listed there, the fireworks display, May Festival, and also city film details that we work throughout the year, traffic enforcement, bike path, parks and school patrols, community engagements, higher visibility and accessibility in crowded areas. I think in closing, these bikes are a great tool to augment our patrol services provided here in the city. And if approved, they would be extremely beneficial to our city here and our residents. So, told you I'd be short, so that's it in a nutshell.
Any questions?
One quick question.
Sure.
Would this, the addition of these bikes potentially reduce the need for, let's say, horseback or mounted police at any of these events, or
No,
is that separate?
No, it would be an addition too. So
Okay.
if we use mounted enforcement, no, we can still use the bikes and the horses.
Okay.
It's just an augmentation.
Roger.
Yep. Not a question, but just a comment saying I think this is great. I remember talking to Chief Karegian when I got on and kind of brought up this idea, and hopefully it like set that in motion at least a little bit to have it now. So I think it's great.
He volunteered to come back and ride the bikes
Okay,
too. So
all right then.
We'll make sure we hold him to it.
He'll be our tester. Thank you.
Guest appearance.
And then we had an opportunity to talk about the bikes too, and I think this is such a fantastic idea. And one thing that intrigued me that we spoke about was the training that goes with this. Can you elaborate a little bit on that so the public
Yeah,
knows?
so our deputies do go through a training. I think it's an 8-hour course now. They trimmed it down quite drastically, but they do go through some training. They do wear the appropriate, attire for it, safety equipment and whatnot. So I know it's just riding a bike, but there is some. There's some stuff that you got to learn from the law enforcement side to be able to navigate safely too. And I mean, especially with e-bikes, they reach speeds of up to 20 miles an hour, and so you got to be a little bit more careful than you would a regular bike.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to say, I think it's a great idea, good way to get out there and, let the public see you and engage with the public. It's a great idea.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'd like to move to approve the request for the purchase of 4 Giant Talon e-bikes.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to item number 9, which is committee, commission, and board reports.
No? Yeah.
Okay. You do?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do. On Monday, April 17th, we had our public gathering, let's call it that, regarding homeless. We had the backpack medicine and law enforcement there. Our police chief did a fantastic job of spearheading that. We met with the public on Burlington and the green space area near the gazebo. Had approximately 25 citizens that showed up and had some great questions, and I think we were able to answer a lot of their questions that they had. Not me specifically, but our law enforcement, and we had county services out there, social services, we had medical staff that were there, and the reason that we met, just for clarification, we mentioned this the morning of, but just for other citizens to know that if they think they missed out, the reason it was scheduled on that Saturday morning was because it was Monday morning was because was the scheduled time that the backpack medicine people were going to be there and social services, and so we wanted to be there at the same time they were there so they could, we wouldn't have to change their schedule. So we did have, and I was elated on a Monday morning to have 25 people from the community show up and ask questions. And I got a lot of positive feedback after that. So that was on the 17th. And then also just an FYI, we have had meetings with VCTC with regard to the train. There's a lot of activity going on there, and hopefully we'll get some of these issues resolved. And that occurred on the 19th. That was a Wednesday. And so I'm seeing some progress. There's another pending meeting coming up again with the same, and this is with just city leaders. It's not a public meeting. It's with city and county leaders between Santa Paula, the county, and then Fillmore. So I'm just asking people to be patient with us on the whole train issue, and we are making progress, and we're not sitting idly by. And then the last thing I wanted to share, and so I should have reported this earlier, is that, I participated in the Fillmore Earth Day and yard sale swap meet event last weekend, and I think it was very successful. We had lots of people there. We had the swap meet set up in this area here. We had Central closed, and we had all of the service agencies and churches with their tables set up and the awnings, and it was just a really nice event. Didn't last very long. It was hot, but it was just, I think, a really successful event, so I'd like to see us continue with that. So that's my report.
Yeah, that's great. I actually do. I see that this commission, and I think, First Five is a commission, the First Five Commission of Ventura County. It's sort of an announcement. The First Five Commission, which helps children and families ages 0 to 5, has a campaign to make sure that we begin literacy early. And so I'm the representative from the city of Fillmore that will be going on Friday morning to the kickoff breakfast, in which we'll also get it was an invitation that went out to all the elected officials, an elected official from each city, and we'll be assigned a library. I'm assuming it's probably Fillmore's for myself, and we'll be doing a reading with the children. And so I think it's just a really great way that the First Five Commission is working with local government agencies to just help to spread the word about literacy and starting to read at the youngest age possible. So I'll keep you posted on how that goes.
Things beating me up. City manager report, number 10, city manager verbal report.
Yeah, just real quick, just want to say thank you to Krista and Sandra from our Parks Recreation Department for putting together Earth Day activities, and also for the police department, fire department coming out there and participating. It was a great event, just as Councilmember Brogy mentioned. It was a very good time. We'll continue to do that moving forward. And I'd also like to ask Troy to give just a brief update on where we are with the sewer repair and the emergency, so everybody kind of knows where we're at on that. Thank you.
Good evening again. So last week we put the plans and specs out to a couple of different contractors, about four different contractors. Try to put a little bit of pressure on the schedule. So we've been working with Ferreira Construction, and they've been the ones doing the bypass and whatnot. We felt like it was dragging a little bit, so we asked for some additional bids. We open those bids tomorrow. We'll know more about that then, but one of the things that we're very cognizant of is the schedule, and right now we're paying thousands of dollars a day per week, thousands of dollars per week for the pumping activity. So all of those bypass take up time. We will have some permit considerations with Caltrans after we get started, but as soon as we get the bids, we're going to try to get them under contract as quickly as possible, get them started construction. They're going to start down at River Street and work their way up towards C Street while we're working through the permit issues with Caltrans. It's expected that the construction itself on phase 1, which is all of that line on C Street up to Highway 126, will take about 6 to 8 weeks. And then we'll start on phase 2, which will go down D Street.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Ma'am, nothing else.
I have one follow-up question with that. Just when we're talking about River and by Two Rivers Park, and I know that we'll be talking about it soon about work that we may start at Two Rivers Park. Is there, do you foresee any kind of conflict or maybe putting back things that might happen at Two Rivers Park, meaning construction, because of the, what's happening with the sewer?
Specifically, I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to as far as
we may
activities.
be, depending on how the budget process moves forward, and if we get things approved, there might be some shadings done. There basically might be some construction, some trucks, some stuff happening there.
Yeah, we're continuing to kind of move forward in that manner. We're actually working on the baseball fields right now to try to get them playable, and we've been working on the parking lots. We're probably going to be working on the dog park at some point, but yeah, shade structures. It is not lost on me the blockages on the street because of the sewer bypasses, and I'm concerned about that as well. We do have a traffic control plan that's being set up for the work that's being done, or the work that's being proposed, and that will have to be phased too, because we don't want to have closures in areas that they're already done working. We're going to have to plate some areas so the cars can drive over it, but we still ultimately have those bypasses that are sticking out of the manholes in the streets, and that's really, we got to keep people away from those holes because for safety reasons. But I am working with the contractor as well as all of our potential vendors and activities. We know that there's other activities that may want to happen over there at Two Rivers, and the volume of vehicles going to and from the park is a concern with what we have set up. So I do want to get it in and out as quickly as possible. I want to try to reduce the footprint of the closures that we currently have set up.
Okay, thank you, Troy, I appreciate it.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting to our next regularly scheduled meeting at 6:30 on Tuesday, May 19th, or May 9th, 2023. Meeting adjourned.